There we go. And we are recording. Well, hi everyone. Hope you are all doing well and you're having a good Wednesday afternoon. It is 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in Indianapolis. And with us today we have Jesus. Is it Solis? Is it how you
Solis.
Solis?
Yes.
That's great. Well, we're really glad to have him with us today. He is the owner, founder of Theme Park AV, and had the opportunity to connect with you a couple of months ago at the Spark conference. And so we're really glad that you're willing to meet with us and talk with our students today. Um, as of right now, like I said, typically what we can do is I can make it so that students can actually ask questions, but for whatever reason, Zoom is giving me a hard time. So there is a way for students to put questions in the chat or in the there's typically like an FAQ feature as well. There's a Q&A feature. So as you have questions as we're talking, please feel free to either utilize the chat or to put it in the Q&A for Jesus. So I wanted to kind of kick things off. If you could give us kind of a brief overview of your history in the industry and then theme park AV, a little bit of the history there, and what's the primary operational goals of theme park AV today? So multiple questions there, but kind of if you
Yes.
could give us the timeline, that would be great.
Yes, definitely. Certainly. And I prepared some slides. I don't know if that would be
Oh,
helpful for you
perfect.
guys
That's
to have
great.
on the
That's
screen.
that's even better. So yeah, feel free.
Hmm. Okay. I'm clicking share, but it's telling me host disable attendance screen sharing. So it might not
Oh,
be
hold on.
set.
Share
Okay.
settings. So it's not telling me you can't share. Let me do this. I'm going to make you a co-host. Let's try that out.
Hmm. Thank you.
Give that a shot.
All right, perfect. I think that worked.
Wonderful.
All right, excellent. Let me know if you can see
Yes, we can see your
my
slides. Thank
slide
you.
on screen. Oh, yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much. So yeah, so answer your your original question. So my name is Jesus Solis. I'm the founder and principal engineer of Theme Park AV. And some of the topics we're going to talk about today is I'm going to cover what is AV design and engineering when it refers to theme entertainment. We're going to cover how we have engineering, which is really precise, and how creativity, which is abstract, how those two fields combine to create these theme attractions that we create. I'm also going to talk about theme entertainment for those who don't know that term or haven't heard of it before. It essentially means any location or space that creates experiences that bring a story to life. So we create this world that you get transported into, and we utilize technology and engineering to accomplish that. We're also going to cover some topics on the technology and storytelling. So similar to how this creativity part plays a role. We're going to talk about how storytelling combines with technology to create these experiences. And we'll cover sound, video, lighting, and show control as well. So different disciplines that we apply to create this whole immersive experience. And ultimately, our goal is to create these memorable guest experiences that people go and experience, and they tell their friends about it, their family, and this is how we create all these with our different tools and resources that we have. And we'll have time at the end for questions, or if there's also any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A. Excellent. So just a little bit about myself, and feel free if you have any questions as well, just let me know. I'm happy to answer as we go through the
Awesome.
presentation.
Thanks, Jesus.
But just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Mexico City. I grew up in Mexico until I was 18. And while I was growing up, we used to travel to Orlando, to Disney on vacation many times a year with my family. And that's really where my passion for theme entertainment came from. I remember as a little kid going into Disney and the rides and Universal Studios and just seeing all these cool attractions, rides where you can, you're in the Harry Potter world, or like in the Terminator movie or stuff like that. And it was really cool for me to think and about, I wonder how all this gets made. Like who creates all this? How does this happen? You experience the end result, but what all it takes to get there. So from that passion, I wanted to go to work for Disney. I knew always that was one of my goals, to work for Walt Disney Company. And I went to study music production and engineering at Berkeley in Boston. My original goal, I thought I wanted to be in the recording world, audio. I'm back. I'm gonna drop there for a second. So yeah, my goal was being a recording studio, which I thought that would be my path. Well,
And sorry, Jesus, you're no longer sharing.
oh,
I think it stopped sharing for whatever reason.
okay, no problem.
There you go. You're back up.
All right, perfect. So when I graduated from college, there was an opportunity for me to work at Disney, and that's when I applied to go to Orlando. After that, went to different roles. I worked at Disney, worked for an equipment manufacturer as well, Alcor McBride in Orlando. So all those experiences eventually led to the founding of Theme Park AV, now here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So just talking on that timeline of how things progress with my experience in theme entertainment. So starting in 2008, I got my first job at Disney being a stage technician. I thought I was gonna start as a technician and I could go into recording studio. That was kind of my professional path that I had in mind. But when I started working in the park, I just fell in love with live sound and live engineering. Something that I never thought that was going to be the case, but I just ended up loving it. So I completely forgot about the recording studio world, and I wanted to focus on this. So in 2008, started in the park. I had several roles running sound for different of the shows in the park. We used to do a lot of live special events. For example, here on the bottom left, you might recognize that the Spaceship Earth at Epcot. So I was stationed at Epcot. That was my home park. And we did this big event where they had like Mike Wazowski in the sphere for a commercial promotional product that we're releasing. So they did a lot of really cool things like that in the park. And one of my interests was always automation and control. Because of doing these live shows in the park, there were a lot of opportunities in live entertainment of, well, how can we automate an experience for the guests, but also from the operator side of things. As an example, one of my first automation jobs that I did in the park was they used to have a show called the China Acrobats. And just a little story about the show. It was acrobats that would perform several times a day in the park. And the operator, the technician, had to go up in the rooftop, go into a booth, set up their system, had like 2 CD players, and I play, from one CD player, the other CD player mix sound for the show. And they had to crossfade between different tracks as they were doing their performance. So it's an example where it was really hard work for the technician in the sense that they had to be up in the rooftop in a booth where, Florida heat, it gets pretty warm. So I was thinking, well, how can we make this experience better for the technician, but also for the guest? So one of the things that I did is using the Alcor McBride products that I'll talk about it later, created a system where the technician now, all they needed was an iPad and they could be down on the floor with the performers and they have like different buttons they can push on the screen to start the different tracks. So it was a lot safer for the technicians, but also they were able to be close to the performers. So it was a better experience overall. So that's kind of like the first show control system that I built in the park. Then from there, I had different roles that I played. I was the park audio crew chief, which I was in charge of all the systems for the park, so all the audio systems. So that included purchasing new new equipment, designing new spaces, maintenance of spaces. And because of my passion of automation, I went to do a couple jobs for Walt Disney Imagineering. So for those who have heard the term, so Imagineering at Disney is the arm of the company that focuses on creating all the new attractions and new experiences for the park. So they use that word Imagineering from imagination and engineering, and they combined it to create Imagineering. And that's exactly what they do. They use technology and science to create all these special effects and spaces. So from my experience doing some of the automation, then I went to work for Disney Cruise Line through Walt Disney Imagineering, building the Disney Fantasy. Those are the images I have here on the bottom center and right. So I went to Germany to build the Fantasy while it was being built. So a really cool project. You see a cruise ship, how it's being built, something I never experienced before, and not a lot of people get to experience, but it's really cool. It's like these huge rooms, like a airport hangar. I mean, but imagine it fits an entire cruise ship inside, and you go from like literally bare metal to a finished cruise ship that people can sail on. So spend about three months there in Germany, and then cross over to come to the United States with the ship. And that time, I was working in the what is called the animator's palette. That's the image I have up here in the like that pink hue space. And what animator's palette is a restaurant experience, a theme experience for the guests. What happens is guests coming into the restaurant, start having dinner, and each seat in the restaurant have a placemat where the guests they get handed a crayon or a pencil, and they're able to draw a picture of any character that they want to imagine, like stick figure, or like some people are really good at doing really good drawings. From that, they get these placemats. They take them away, and then part of the show is you see your characters on the screens. There's screens all around the room. You can probably see a little bit on the back there, like Mickey in the back. So they have a whole show where you have video and different Disney movie content playing, but then at some point you see your character that you made in your placemat. You see it animated on the screen, so it's like dancing and interacting with all of the Disney characters. There's lighting that happens, there's sound effects, so all this stuff that happens to create this really immersive experience for the guest. So that was a really cool experience, attraction to work on, and it took several months to get there. There's rehearsals, there's testing that needs to happen, adjustments. So it's a long process, but when you see the end products, it's really cool. So after my time at Disney, I went to work for a equipment manufacturer that they call Alcor McBride. And what they do is they create they engineer all these hardware that are used in the attractions. So they have show controllers, for example, that do the control the interaction between all the other systems. They do video playback, audio playback, and lighting as well. So essentially, they create products that are used in the parks to make all these experiences come to life. So while my time with them, it was a great time as well, learning about how products are developed for theme entertainment. So I had experience from the user. I was using their equipment, using products to create these attractions, but then I went to learn as well from Alcor McBride, what does it take to create these products for attractions? Some of the things, for example, that are really important is to make sure that the equipment is extremely reliable. When you're having hundreds of thousands of guests coming through an attraction, you cannot have anything fail. Essentially, I mean, have guys ever been to a theme park, and if you hear that the ride is down for whatever reason, everybody's like gets upset, and even you have to wait 15, 20 minutes more in line, you're missing time. So for the park's perspective, it's a huge loss of guest satisfaction and income as well. So all the systems that are created for the parks, from the design to the specific hardware that is used, has to be really purpose-built and specific to make sure that there's that 99.999, almost 100% uptime functionality. And so after leaving Alcor McBride, I moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, and that's where I started Theme Park AV. So at Theme Park AV, what we do is we do design, integration, programming, and support of theme entertainment systems for all sorts of clients in the industry. We do design. So when we're talking about design, is the first step when we do a project. We meet with our clients, with the creative teams, find out what their vision for this attraction experience is. Something that is really unique about what we do in theme entertainment is that almost every attraction, everything we do is one of a kind. There might be one or two times where attractions are copied into other parks and locations, but especially in the larger companies. Sometimes they, like, let's say they build a Harry Potter world in Florida, then maybe they build it in Europe or in other parks. But for the most part, everything we do is one of a kind. So it's always really, really important for us to meet with the clients and find out what their goal is, what they're trying to achieve. So that's the part where engineering comes into play, the design part. Talking about integration. So once a design is created, once we know, okay, this is what the room's going to look like, this is what special effects we want to have, this is the sounds that we want to hear, then we go into integration. And between design and integration, we also work really closely with not only other creative people that design and they come up with the concepts, but we have to work with architects that are designing the physical building, with mechanical engineers, HVAC system engineers. So there's so many multiple disciplines that work in an attraction. Most people don't, we don't realize when we went to a place, like all the different trades and professions that are needed to create something like this come to life. So once we get the design completed, we're going into integration. So integration is now, okay, we have the idea of the plan. This is what we want things to look like. So how do we make it actually all work and all fit in the space? One thing that is very common in theme entertainment, because it's a creative space, things change a lot. So even you already have a design made, while the attraction is being built, many times producers or the creative teams might want to do changes on the spot. Say, hey, we want to, like in this image I have here with these spheres in the air, they might say, hey, we want to shift locations of things. So we have to account for that and be able to accommodate those changes while maintaining the technology that sometimes, for example, I have a projector in that image over there. So the projector has to be in that particular space that in the physical space, it cannot change, because if you move it forward, backwards, left or right, now your image is not going to be in the space that you have accounted for it. So those are some of the challenges, and some of the fun part of doing integration is working out all those details while you're on site. After integration, so once everything's installed, we go into programming. So programming is a phase of the project where we give functionality and life to the system. So, for example, in this image here in the bottom, we have a guitar where this show in this case is automated, for example. So every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, for example, the show will run. And what the show is, the lights will fade out, videos start playing in the guitar like projection mapping. So you see all kinds of different colors and things happening, and it's all automated. So part of the programming as a programmer is to come in and adjust all those timings, make sure everything looks good, as well as accounting for different scenarios. For example, we always have an emergency stop in the systems. So let's say if somebody's have an emergency or somebody needs to leave the space or whatnot, you can push this emergency stop button and the show will go back to lights on and like a preset, for example. So those all are things that we have to account for when designing an attraction. And then we also provide support. So after the attraction open, many times the facilities have their own team that runs the day-to-day operations. But we also are available to provide like ongoing support if they need to do a change or they want to do something different later on. We're available for them. And what we specialize on, we do audio, video, show control. So with audio, it's everything that's the sound related. from speaker placement to different speakers, sound effects. Video, we do projections, LED screens, displays, so anything that has that video component to it. Show control will be that integration of all the audio and video elements. And for networking, so we also do networking, which is pertaining to the theme entertainment system. Most of the equipment nowadays that is created, it's all connected through Ethernet. So no, the RS-232 days are fading away more and more. So most of everything now happens through Ethernet, TCP, UDP protocols controlling the different hardware. So networking has become a huge part of the attraction. So we will specialize in that as well. Some of the clients that we work with in theme entertainment are theme parks. So you think Disney, Universal, Legoland, Six Flags, so large parks like that. Attractions. When we're talking about attractions, could be, for example, escape room. That'll be an attraction, or like a go-kart facility. They have announcements that play automatically. Maybe there's a show aspect to it, like a race that you're racing against your teammates, and they have all these videos like showing countdowns. So maybe it looks like a Formula One experience, but it's go-kart. So some of the stuff that we do. Entertainment venues, like there's a lot of in the same space, like arcade places, for example, that are utilizing more of theming into their space. Cruise ships like the Disney that I showed you guys before, and also zoos and aquariums. That's on the entertainment side. On the hospitality side, we're also seeing a lot more and more theme spaces. So, for example, if you go to the Grand Ole Opry here in Nashville, so it's a resort, but there's a theme to it. Or a big example is Vegas, right? You go into Vegas and you have Caesar's Palace, you have the Luxor, you have all these hotels. They're a resort essentially, but they have a theme to it, like you're in Rome, or you're in the pyramids. And as well, very connected to that is casinos. So typically we have casinos that are part of the resort. So we create systems for those type of locations. And we also do work for theme restaurants. So for example, if you guys have ever been to like the Rainforest Cafe, that's an example of a theme restaurant. So yes, it's a restaurant, but there's more than that. They also do, and if you go in, you're having dinner and you're in the jungle, there's animatronics, animals, moves, etc., sound effects. So that's what we do. And we also do some work in community spaces, corporate buildings. For example, you could have something like Netflix or IBM, or places where they're making their lobbies of their facilities be also attractive. So not only you're walking into a building, but they have screen displays. There's some entertainment or aspect to it. Same with retail and churches as well. They're evolving into creating more of this immersive experience, not only just a building you walk into, but it's actually more than that. Is you walk in and there's an intent behind it. All right, so I'm gonna go now into talk a little bit about show control. So now we're gonna talk about the specifics of all these disciplines and what do they mean and how do they work. So I have a couple videos here. I'm gonna play the first one here. This is an attraction. Here we'll have it here in Pigeon Forge and in Branson. It's called Truth Traveler, and the premise of this attraction is you're going to like a time port, like imagine like a airport, but it's a time machine traveling place. So you go into this the time port, you go through a queue line. There's a lot of interactives. There's a lot of animatronics. So there's always something happening as you're getting to the actual ride. And the ride itself is what you see in the screen, which is this base. There's 10 bays. There's a virtual reality experience. So guests come in, put on a headset, and they're transported to a biblical times through this time machine that you fly in. So I'm going to show you this video here. This is one of our engineers. He's testing the door automation system. And so I'll play this for you. So in this example, you saw the doors were open, press the button, and a couple of things happen. You might be able to hear there was some audio playing inside. So it was telling the guests what was happening. There's calibration happening, part of the show. Then the doors close and the lights change color to where ultimately they go into red for indicating that the pod is filled with gas and is in use. So this is a good example of when I was talking earlier about integration. In this case, another company from the UK called Simworks, they built and designed the VR benches and the entire pod system. So they utilize PLCs, which you guys who are in the engineering field are familiar with what a PLC is, like a programmable logic controller, which is used very commonly in industrial applications because of its safety features and characteristics about it. So a lot of the mechanical, if not all mechanical elements in an attraction like this use a PLC for doing that control. But then we have to join that PLC portion with the show portion, which is the lights, the audio, which are not life safety critical. They're just fans experience, but they're not, nobody gets hurt if the light changes to a different color. So that's an example where we, as an integrator, we have to work with companies that do the mechanical side, also as an AV integrator, and learn, okay, how does your system work? And then how do we connect their system to ours? So in this case, their PLC is sending some dry contact closures to our controller system. And when we receive different signals, either it's high or low on the PLC, then we know, okay, the show started, and then we need to know, okay, now we can change the lights. So in this case, the doors are controlled by the PLC, but the lights are controlled by us. So we have to make sure that everything happens in synchronous time. Otherwise, it wouldn't look good. And that's where things like the Alcromac product, like the V16 show controller, which is what we use here, the Alcromac Bright takes care of that, making that communication between both systems. So you can think of it as a conductor, like a master conductor, where the Alcromac Bright receives a signal, and then it tells all the other devices, hey, lighting system, you do this. Hey, audio system, start playback. Hey, PLC, I receive your signal. You're good to go. So it's essentially the brain for your attraction. I have another video here in the middle. I'm going to play it. So this is an interactive panel that is in the queue line. So that's something that's also been trending in attractions more and more. Years ago, when I was growing up, you'll go to the parks and you're waiting to go in the ride, and you'll be in this like super long line for like 3 hours with nothing to do except just like metal maze of metal handrails that you have to wait for 2 or 3 hours to get to the ride, and really not much really around to see. So essentially it's a couple fans and just wait. So something that is changing now a lot is they're making a lot of the experience start not only in the ride part, but also from the moment you just step into the queue line. So in this example, in this Truck Traveler attraction, there's an interactive panel in part of the ride where guests are able to push these buttons on the wall, and then something happens. I'll play the video here for you.
Hey, Jesus, we have a question as well as you're playing this video.
Oh, sorry. Let me go back.
No, you're good. Yeah, what are the most common misunderstandings or misnomers clients have when beginning audiovisual projects? It's coming from Dominic.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, depending on the client. So when most clients, they have a vision of what they want their attraction to be or their experience to be. And one of the biggest misconceptions is who's handling which part of an attraction, like who's responsible for creating which portion. So, for example, in this example with this True Traveler attraction, so it's full construction. So you have an architect that designs the space, right? You use like the walls and the flow and the parking lot and the shell of the building. But then you also have another company who designs all the scenic. So like in the picture here, you can see all this red frame and the numbers and the walls just to make it look like you're somewhere. this was done by a company called Kingdom Productions out of Cincinnati, and they created all the scenic. So it's like, imagine like an overlay. So the architect just create the empty room. Then you have the scenic designer creating all the physical space, all the theming to make it look like something. And then you have companies like us who do the audiovisual portion. So then we look at putting lights, making audio, video, the controls, so bring it to life essentially. So using technology to bring the experience to life. And they also have like specialty companies, like in this case, this company Simworks out of the UK, who their specialty is doing the right portion. So the moving benches. So the benches that you see in the background, they go up and down, left, right. So they have movement as well as the VR headset experience. So so one of the main things is getting everybody in the room, from the client and the creative teams and all the different specialties, and just talking about, okay, who's handling what in an attraction. One thing that we always recommend from my experience is having one person or one company handle a specialty, for example. So you have a scenic designer using one scenic designer to manage the entire experience. Otherwise, I've seen cases where different companies get brought in to do different parts of a project, but now you end up with a little bit of a disconnect because everybody does something slightly different, so you don't have a cohesive experience.
So, Jesus, would you say that's more difficult to manage or to be a part of? If you're stepping onto a project and you're working with one other company versus three or four?
Yes, yeah. So it's harder when you have multiple companies that do the same field of work. That what makes it difficult. Like imagine you have like 4 different plumbers, doing the
Right.
same work.
Yeah.
Everybody has a way to do their plumbing, but slightly different. Not that they're wrong, but just a different approach. So now, you could have like this bathroom plumbed this way, and then this other bathroom on the other side be completely different. So when you go do maintenance, for example, now you gotta look at how was this done versus that. So that can create definitely difficulty for the end user. Excellent. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, I'll play this video because I cut it short earlier.
And by the way, do the videos have audio?
Yes. Are you
Okay.
not able to hear it?
Yeah, audio is not playing. So,
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know because that will make a big difference. So in this case, you probably saw the light changing color at least in the video. So when we play, when you push the button initially, the light starts changing colors, and there's like a siren that is happening in the background. So that's how guests interact with the space. So it's another layer of now they're not only in this space, like you can see in the image, it looks like you're in this like industrial hallway, like underground. So now not only you're in that space, but you're actually interacting with the space and the response to your actions. So something that people really like and enjoy. And then I had this video. If there's no audio, I don't know if it's gonna help. Let me play it. So in that video, it's really short, but you saw probably the light change colors. So this is an interactive case where guests touch that metal plate, creates conductivity, and that sends a signal to our show control system, say, okay, a guest press the plate, so now fade the lights to go to your different lights. And there's also audio playing in the kiosk. There's a little speaker that is hard to see there, but speaker that plays audio. And not only plays local in the kiosk, but it connects to the rest of the system. So background music that it's playing in the background, it fades down, so you can really be immersed in that portion. So it's a couple examples of how show control is applied here in theme entertainment. one of our goals as experiential design is we want to create spaces or an experience where technology should really disappear into the background. Our goal when we design a system is you want to hear it, you want to see it, but you don't want to know it's there, if that makes any sense. So, for example, in the first image here that I have here on the left, I don't know if you guys are able to tell where the speakers are. I'll let you look at it for a couple seconds. But in this case, for example, the speakers are actually these black lines that are here that you see in this section. So these are from a manufacturer called KRA. And what's cool about that company is they make really, really unique speakers. So when you think speakers, you imagine, your typical square box, right, mounted on the wall, sticking out. And what this company KRA does, they make all kinds of unique shapes, really, really small speakers that still sound really well, have full frequency response, but they're really meant to go away, to disappear. So the speakers are not what you're seeing. You're just hearing them, but they're not taking away from the experience. Like in this image here in the middle, we have this old-looking TV, right? Like an oversized TV with Dolly Parton there. And there's audio that plays from the TV, so just like an old TV. However, inside the TV, you have a modern-day LCD LED TV with a speaker. But this is another example of how we use technology to bring a space to, like, you feel like you're like in an old living room, but all utilizing modern technology. And then I want to show you this next video. This is in Hong Kong from an Ironman experience. I'll play it first and then I'll explain it. So that's a really cool effect. You see at the beginning, you see Iron Man like flying in and lands on the floor. There's some smoke effect that happens, and then doors open, and here comes Iron Man. So, obviously, Iron Man the suit didn't fly into the space. So you use technology like projection and there's all kinds of things that you can do. Like there's glass, for example, like in the elevator. This is not the case for this one, but you can have glass that you can play video on it, so it's like semi-transparent. You can play video on it, and then so you create that effect with the smoke. When doors open, you have a physical effect to show, to make it look like, yep, the Iron Man really landed there, and he's coming out in the room. So, biggest part of that experiential design is creating a space that guys feel like they're there, like it's like almost like magic. You're singing and like it feels real, like it's real to you when you're experiencing it. And we create technology that supports the story. So the story case is, Iron Man can fly in. So how can we use technology to make it feel like Iron Man just literally flew in this room and came out of the doors? And
Jesus, we got a question. Another one. Peter asked, how do you ensure a system never fails? Like you mentioned earlier, is it done with redundancy of equipment? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will never say there's a system that is never going to fail. To make something that is 100% fail-proof, it's almost impossible. There's eventually something might happen. However, that being said, when we design systems, we use things like, for example, redundancy. That's a good example. Let's say if you have an audio processor, there's systems where, like, for example, one of the brands out there is called QCs from QSE, which allow to have a redundant DSP processing unit that can be both connected at the same time. So if your main one fails, it automatically switches to the backup. We do things like we use battery backups on all our racks. So if there's a power fluctuation in the space, like if the facility loses power for a second, we have a UPS and uninterruptible power supply in the system, so nothing really fails. So things keep running. Same with the selection of equipment. So when you're building attractions, it's really important to choose hardware that is specifically built for this type of application. While we're not doing safety critical elements like a PLC case will do, there are brands out there, and again, like Alcor McBride, QC, for example, with QCs, that they create equipment that is meant to be extremely reliable. So, for example, you could have an Alcor shot controller installed, and I've seen it in many cases where you go, you install it. I had systems at Disney that they've been there since the early 90s when the park, the park opened in the 80s, but maybe was installed a couple years later. Even running for 20 years with no problem. So that selection of equipment is really important, and that's something to keep in mind in your design. There's a lot of brands out there. There's also a lot of people that have gone into doing audiovisual, for example, but they like the experience of what for theme parks. Same with networking, for example. A lot of these systems, the synchronization are happening through the network. So you got to make sure you have a really robust network system where your time, we use something called like PTP for synchronization of different systems. So from audio clubs, because a lot of it is through networks, we have to make sure it stays in sync. So again, making sure that you have those commercial purpose-built systems are really, really important. Excellent. That makes sense. All right. I'm going to do my next slide here. So just talking briefly about AV design and acoustics. So while when we're choosing what we're going to use and where we're going to put it, we're talking about this equipment. Our approach is we don't just go into a space and guess, okay, we're going to put a speaker here, a speaker there, and look at drawing just like randomly select. We actually do engineering studies. So in this case, I have like a roller coaster. We're looking at putting speakers on the ramp like this, where the coaster vehicle waits, like it gets released and goes to the other end and then goes backwards. So we have different tools with different systems that we can use for acoustical prediction, so we can see exactly how loud it's going to be, how much coverage you're going to have. So that's where the engineering part comes into play with what we do. So as we have the creative power, we have to make sure it looks cool and people like it and transport you to that experience. But there's also things that we have to be careful about. For example, in this case with roller coasters, there's this for a life safety system as far as announcements. So if something happens, they want to be able to make sure that the guest can hear what's going on. So we have to do these studies, and we have the software and the technologies. They're available to know exactly how loud it's going to be at each location. And then we can decide, okay, well, we need to add more speakers, take out speakers, use different speakers. So that's one example. Well, everything we do is we design with intention. So like in the middle screen, I have like a small sample of line diagrams, single line. So it shows how all the systems interconnected. And talking about earlier about redundancy, we look at how everything's going to connect, and we can have a full documentation for as we're doing the installation, but also for the park to do maintenance, to troubleshoot if there's any issues that happen. They can go back and look at the drawings and literally follow each cable from beginning to end. And as part of, as well with the design, we do the plan view, so the coordination and integration. So on the right-hand side, I have a small image that shows a space, and each space, it's hard to read, it's very small, but each, for example, this is or displays on the walls, TVs. So we have all the details, how heavy the TV is, how many watts it's going to produce. Something to keep in mind is heat loads. For example, when you have different types of equipment like projectors, they produce a lot of heat. LED screens produce a lot of heat. So these are all calculations that need to be done ahead of time before the building is being built. How much heat is going to be generated, so that the architects and the engineers can make a HVAC sufficient enough to support the heat that is going to be generated. Also, how much power is going to be needed. A lot of these LED displays or LED walls, they use a lot of power. They use multiple 50 amp circuits sometimes. So depending on engineers with the client, hey, you get all parts of engineering and attraction. So while we have the creative part, this is where you get into the science part behind it. So I'll show you here a couple examples quickly of some of the things we've done. We work it's called the Da Vinci Science Center. We work with through a fabricator, Roto, who they specialize in creative interactives, and they essentially design all this space. A really cool company. They're in Ohio, and their job is to create all the experience, essentially all the wall treatments, how things are going to look like. But they also have a team in place that can create the kiosk and everything like you see in a museum, all the different stuff like, you push a button and you can see your heartbeat happening or stuff like that. So we did this center with them. We helped them with the integration of this. So for example, on the bottom left here, you can see the touch control interface. So the user from the museum can go in, click system on, and the system powers on, power off. So there's a lot of and depending on which attraction, sometimes there's a lot of manual control where there's an operator that pushes different buttons and does different things in the show. Many times it's all automated to where the interfaces are used there for the operator to make sure the system's operating correctly, but everything's controlled maybe by the ride, for example. Maybe the roller coaster is the one deciding, okay, play this audio file, play that file. So no human aspect to it. We were part of another project as well at Dollywood here in our backyard. It's a really cool project. This was as well with that company, Roto. We work with them on, it's like a museum experience. You walk through and you see Dolly Parton's career and experience. They have that guitar room that I was talking to you guys earlier, where there's a show. So in the middle of that middle image here on the screen, you can see what it looks like while it's happening. And the bottom is while we were programming it and getting it ready for guests to come in. It's another attraction, the one that I was showing you the videos earlier of that catwalk with the lights flashing and the door with the benches. So,
hey, I'm sorry.
yes.
I don't know if the slides are advancing. Currently, we're seeing the Da Vinci Science Center slide.
All right. Let me go back.
Sorry about that. Maybe yeah, there is Dollywood.
Let me okay. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for letting me know.
No problem.
I didn't get any visual feedback if it was I was advancing it, but it wasn't updating.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, let's just go back to Dollywood. So this is what that attraction looks like. If you guys are ever in the Pigeon Forge area, highly recommend it. So it's a museum about Dolly's career from when she started all the way through modern day. Are you guys seeing now the Truth Traveler slide? Yes.
So
okay,
right now we're seeing the Dollywood slide.
Still, okay.
Maybe stop sharing and then restart. Sometimes that might fix it.
I'm gonna do that.
Sorry about that.
No. All right. Now can you see the Truth Traveler?
It's coming up. Give it a minute. Not yet. Oh, there we go.
There.
Got it.
Perfect. Excellent. So yes, this is the Truth Traveler attraction. That's the one I was talking about earlier, that you're in this like time port where you go in, and the premises you're gonna be able to travel through time. So it looks like an airport at the end, trying to buy your tickets and go through different hallways on the top right here, you can see these are screens, 85-inch screens that we're using to play a synchronous video. So there's essentially 4 videos, and what you see the little spaceships or time machines just like fly through on the screen. So another example of how we use that experience of like you're looking out the windows like in an actual space, and you're like in the mountains, and you can see the ships departing, and how important that synchronization, because if you don't have the videos playing perfect sync, you will see the ship twice, so it will just break the illusion. And for this attraction, so this one we did essentially all the audio, video, and lighting for all the queue lines and everything except for the base itself. We did the audio for the base, but not the benches. So that was where that company Simworks did that portion. And then lastly, here I have some example of another attraction that we worked recently on. Is the well, we worked in Transformers a couple of years ago doing a migration of systems. So when you were talking about reliability as well, how do we keep up that uptime close to 100% as possible? Is one of the big parts that we do is equipment obsolescence replacements. So we install equipment that works for years, which is great, but eventually after a while, there's new technology, better features. So one thing that the parks like doing and all our clients is after a certain amount of time, go back and put new equipment. One, so you're getting new hardware, so it'll be fresh, so haven't been running for a while, but also get new features and functionality. And then we're finishing up. We've been working at the Fast and Furious coaster in California, so we've been also doing some show control on that project with the park. So yeah, that's just an example of some of the things. So I'd like to leave it at so now. If you guys have any particular questions or anything I can add to do so.
Yeah, this has been great, Jesus. I just appreciate you sharing your own background and history, but then also the integrated work that you do, and I would say the breadth of work that you do, which I find fascinating. I'm curious, being in Knoxville, Tennessee, how has that benefited you, or has there been any difficulties with that? When people think themed entertainment, a lot of times they think Orlando, Florida, or maybe LA, but obviously the industry is much bigger than that. And so, yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
curious about that.
Yeah, definitely. So it's actually been really helpful being in Knoxville. So just like you said, there's that uh, concept about or conception about theme entertainment, Orlando, California, but it also happens to be oversaturated. So there's a ton of companies that try to do work with the parks, and it's just an oversaturated market over there. The reality is there are so many locations, museums. Full park. We have Dollywood here. There's Silver Dollar City in Branson.
Yeah.
There's theme parks all over the United States. There's museums, resorts like Vegas. So for us being in Knoxville, it's been actually great. We're really centrally located to where we can serve the local attractions. So we can offer them also a really good cost on the projects. Many times in the past they had to call companies maybe from California and fly all the way to Knoxville to do an installation, and that includes flights, hotels. So there's a lot of cost labor for that. So by us being local in this area, we're able to travel within several miles and still be a local project. So
Mhm.
it's been for our customers and for us as well. And I know we still do travel to California Florida, California, we have some, we do really specialized work when it comes to the programming part. So we are part of these other projects. So, but yeah, it's been great. We love here Tennessee. We love the Midwest is great.
Yeah, that's great.
So we
Got
really
a couple
enjoy
of
it.
no, got a couple of questions, and thanks for that, Jesus. Yeah, got a couple of questions in the Q&A. What separates the exceptional projects from the ones that merely meet the standard? Or put it another way, what separates the projects that are fun to work on versus those you just want to get through?
Definitely. So, so I think a big part is attention to detail on the projects where the client and the creative team has a really good vision of what they want that experience to be. That makes a really big difference. You have to start with a really good story, and you have a really good story, you can develop it really well. So that's really crucial. Also, being involved on a project as early as possible is really important. Many
Mm,
times we get brought in almost too late to a project. I mean, yes, construction maybe hasn't happened, but they have already designed the space, right? They already have, the walls and what it's going to look like. And then we come along and say, okay, well, how are we going to get this TV in this wall? Because now there's no space. How are we going to get cables, how power, earlier about HVAC? Hey, now you're going to need a bigger HVAC unit. So for us, the earlier that we can be in a project, that makes a huge difference on how that experience goes. That makes
mm,
it from like, this was a really well done, everything get in time versus now we're trying to fit what we're doing in the project.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, because if you get brought in too late, obviously now the scope is could change, right, very quickly. Um, Peter asked a very technical question, wondering how power is
Exactly.
maintained on rides like Rock and Roller Coaster or Skyline at Disney. Where there is no audio built in with moving ride vehicles. I assume batteries. How is the power maintained throughout the day, or is it recharged somehow through the day or at night?
So what they do, depending on the attraction, but for example, a lot of the vehicles that are movable, that are like a coaster, for example, you have even any power in the coaster. All the time they use actually capacitors, really large capacitors. So that way you can charge them really quick because maybe you're in the station only for like a minute or two. So you need to have a system that can uh, energize really fast, get to a full charge really quick, and then of course this charge is really fast, but the ride maybe is only like 40 seconds long. So capacitor
Yep.
is one of the technologies used a lot for that. Of course, it's batteries if the system allows for a longer charge time. Also, some systems have a power rail throughout the entire track, so some of them they always have like power. And then as far as the facility, they all get their own. Many times they're like their own service transformers that just service that particular facility. I mean, you're talking like thousands and thousands of watts. So it's designed
Hmm.
from an electrical perspective to have that, be able to maintain that um, constant power. So and everything is always oversized. So even if there's fluctuations in voltage just from the grade that accounted for.
Makes sense. Okay. All right, another question. Oh, nope, sorry, I was wrong. Supercapacitors, Peter asked?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Is there any other questions from the panel? I know we're past time by just a minute. So, my goodness. Well, this hour went quick, Jesus.
Yes.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time with us and for sharing the slide deck with us. And I think you bring a completely different perspective of the industry to our students, and so we really appreciate it in a lot of ways. And yeah, thank you for taking the time. So if anyone else has questions for Jesus, maybe they think about it later, feel free to shoot me an email, and I can pass that along. And then Jesus, hopefully we'll see you again, maybe at Spark or at IAPA.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, hopefully at IAPA or Spark next year, or I'll come visit you guys sometime. We have family in Indianapolis,
That
so
that would be
we're
great.
not wouldn't be
Okay.
too far to make a
Let
drive.
us know when you're in town. That'd be great.
Awesome.
We
Well,
would love to host you. Yeah, and we'll be at IAPA. I'm guessing we'll probably have anywhere from 40 to 50 students with us this year. So really looking forward to being down there. So
awesome. Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, like you said, Christian, if anybody has any questions, they can send them to you. I'm always happy to answer questions. There's so much that when it comes to how engineering and the different um, profession that you guys have in the university can be applied to this field that people, you'll never even think about it. I mean, from
right.
mechanical engineering, electrical, software engineering, architecture. I mean, you name it. There's it's used every day in
Hmm.
building attractions, and it's a really unique field. It's really fun, so I highly recommend it. So if anybody has any interest on it, it's highly recommended.
Awesome. Thanks, Jesus. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Christian. My pleasure.
All right. We'll see
Uh,
everyone.
Thank you.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.